past few weeks, we've all been talking a lot about Collective Shout, a feminist organization filled to the brim with women who went full-on Karen mode against the video game industry. These people do not care about protecting women or children or making the video game industry safer. They care about power and control, and now after doing some digging, we can see that Collective Shout's co-founder has always hated the video game industry, and that's why she's targeting it now. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, obviously, we could tell from the very beginning of this Collective Shout controversy that these people absolutely hated video games over the past decade. They've been writing hit pieces on video games. They've tried to get things like Grand Theft Auto 5 and Detroit Become Human banned from certain platforms, and they've targeted all different sorts of adult content, though, of course, recently they have definitely ramped that up because they thought with, I believe, Gamergate 2 going on, they thought that, wow, this is our opportunity. Because during the days of Gamergate 1, right, they did try to side with the Anita Sarkeesian, Brianna Wu, and Zoe Quinns, but it didn't really get them the notoriety that they expected. So I think that they could see that there was a lot of division in the video game industry right now. They could see that a lot of gamers are unhappy, and I think they figured if they made themselves a target, they would ultimately gain more popularity, gain more notoriety, and that's definitely happened, just for all of the wrong reasons. They're actually losing followers on social media, which doesn't particularly help them, though now we can see more posts that Melinda Tankard Rice has made in the past about the video game industry. And the reason why so many individuals are so mad at this organization right now is, of course, because they want to rip our entertainment away from us. And it was never about making the video game industry a safer place for us, because she truly believes that all gamers are like degenerates, right? And all video games are promoting violence against women and girls, and they're just disgusting, that this is a disgusting hobby, which isn't particularly surprising. So Haley Era had posted, did some digging on Collective Shout's founder, Melinda Tankard. Turns out she doesn't just hate sexy characters, she straight up hates video games. She claims video games cause violence, arousal addiction, and turns kids into drugged up gamblers. Like, what the hell? So she did make a few posts and share some screenshots of Melinda saying video games emphasize sensory, immediate world, not cognitive, thoughtful world, lack of consequences, Greenfield. You'd think that she could form a couple coherent sentences there. Children who love video games have brains like gamblers, releases chemicals, same as in drugs, addiction, Greenfield. Now, I did decide to go to her social media and view some of her other posts on video games, and yeah, they're pretty freaking bad. She even says video games, violent music, violent porn linked to domestic violence. Now, is there actually any links to any of these claims she's making? None at all whatsoever. She basically is alluding to video games causing violence in the real world, video games and sexy characters turning boys into porn brain rotted sickos, which of course none of these claims are consistently scientifically backed up. Sure, occasionally we will see maybe a study once a year saying, well, technically in isolated cases, right, in these isolated studies, we've found that yes, there were boys with violent tendencies. That very rarely happens. Okay, I'm sure that you could find like a couple of studies online that say that, but there are significantly more that point to video games being good. I have some here that are newer, some here that are older. Here's one from 2020. Playing video games doesn't lead to violent behavior, study shows. Video games do not lead to violence or aggression, according to a reanalysis of data gathered from more than 21,000 young people across the world. The researchers re-examined 28 studies from previous years that looked at the link between aggressive behavior and video gaming, a method known as meta-analysis. So we're talking about 28 studies in one here. In the new report published in the journal Royal Society Open Science, Science on Wednesday found that when bundled together, the studies showed a statistically significant but minuscule positive correlation between gaming and aggression below the threshold required to count as even a small effect. Thus, current research is unable to support the hypothesis that violent video games have a meaningful long-term predictive impact on youth aggression. What a banger of an article. Here's another one. Blame game. Violent video games do not cause violence. This was only from last year. Am I shocked to hear this? Absolutely not, because we already know that this is the truth. We already know that violent video games do not cause an epidemic of violence in the real world. And sure, there are some individual cases where somebody will do something absolutely disgusting and then say, I was a Call of Duty player, but that is not on a consistent basis. Video games can have a positive impact on children if they are designed right, says a new study. Here's one from 2022. Video games could actually be good for kids' brains, study finds. Oh, here's another one. Video gaming may be associated with better cognitive performance in children. So video games do have a positive impact on children and human beings in general. They do help with better cognitive performance. They help with social aspects of a life, right? Because if you're going on a voice chat or you're in a text chat, you are socializing with people. Sometimes, yes, there are individuals who maybe aren't good at making friends in the real world and they can find a space online. I mean, that's why the joke, what's a friend, is spread amongst gamers, when in reality, gaming is an inherently very social thing, at least from everything that I've ever learned about video games are a positive factor upon people's lives. But of course, someone like Melinda Tankard will target any industry in order to make a quick buck. It's not actually about protecting girls or protecting women, because there's no consistent scientific evidence to back up all of the claims that video games are actually very bad for young boys or young kids. It really just boils down to her having such a deep-seated hatred for men that she is willing to target any industry that she views as male-dominated, in this case the video game industry, and she is going to try her best to tear it apart and tear it down, which is why nobody takes her seriously. This is why nobody likes her or her organization, and it's why she's had to resort to privating the official Collective Shout X account, why they've had to lock down their LinkedIn, because there are millions of gamers who are calling these people out, and they are not willing to listen. They've doubled, tripled, and quadrupled down on their stance that, hey, we won and video games are actually bad, when in reality, they cannot accept the fact that they are totally wrong and that gamers are trying to correct them. They, of course, do not want to listen, though. But she makes some absolutely wild claims, okay? And it really just boils down to hating video games and hating men, which isn't particularly surprising, though it is definitely unfortunate that these people are still being listened to in the video game industry. Organizations like Sweet Baby Inc. are still working with major companies and are filled to the brim with feminists and activists who do not care about protecting our entertainment. They care about gaining control in this industry. So if they can complain a couple of times and use their gender or their skin color as a shield from criticism, and then they can make all of these wild claims, well, maybe companies will listen to them. I know a lot of people have been talking about Anita Sarkeesian making posts and standing against Collective Shout. The only reason why Anita Sarkeesians and feminists and journalists, just activists in general in the industry, are standing against Collective Shout is because Collective Shout is ran by Melinda Tankard, who has been labeled a TERF in the past. It's J.K. Rowling's stance, men are men, women are women, and hey, she can have that opinion, but ultimately, she is sitting here and saying, oh, well, I hate Collective Shout, and we need to stand against Collective Shout because Melinda Tankard is somebody that she, being Anita Sarkeesian, completely disagrees with. So she's sitting here saying, oh my gosh, actually, the gamers were right this time, because she's trying to gain popularity and she's trying to ultimately defeat an evil that she views as bigger than the chud gamers. Do not trust Anita Sarkeesian. Do not believe Anita Sarkeesian. I know I don't really have to say that to most of you because you do know that. You guys are generally smarter than 99% of the activists in this industry. But I get that there are people who say, well, we all need to band together and fight this greater evil, which are credit card companies and Collective Shout. But these organizations can be defeated without siding with the evil of the past. So I'll definitely be keeping my eye on Melinda Tankard Rice, but she has gotten completely exposed as just a video game hater. And I can't say I'm particularly surprised, but of course it is always good to call out these people as much as possible. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.